How's it going, YouTube? Welcome back to your favorite aviation channel. And today we have a very special airport update for you all. As you can tell by the title, we are going to be doing Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport Terminal D today. Not the full DFW airport because, number one, I don't have enough space to do the entire DFW airport. And number two, I definitely don't have enough airplanes to do the entire DFW airport. But my special guest today definitely does, as he actually does a regular monthly airport updates of Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. Today I am joined by the one and only Red River Aviation. Please say hello, my man.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me, AS Aviation. I really appreciate it.
No problem. We've been planning this video out for a very long time. Actually, back in like late 2020, I decided to just try out DFW Terminal D, and I was initially planning to do regular updates for this setup, but things happened and I just got busy and never got around to doing it. And me and Red River Aviation, we've been planning this collaboration for a very long time now, and finally had some time to put it together and get this video out for you guys. And then as kind of like a sequel, he's going to be doing a Chicago Air Terminal 3 on his channel coming very soon, and I'll be stepping in as a special guest for that update, I hope. And that'll be coming out on his channel, so be sure to subscribe to him so you don't miss that one out. I'm very excited for that one. So DFW Terminal D, this is a huge terminal. It's a beautiful terminal for those that have never been to DFW. This is the main international terminal for Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. It was built in 2005, believe it or not. I actually didn't know that until a few days ago. I thought it was much newer than 2005. It's crazy it's been around for that long, approaching 17 years of DFW Terminal D. And I mean, just compare this terminal to the rest of the airport. I mean, Terminal D, in my opinion, outshines the rest of the airport. I mean, this is a beautiful terminal building inside and out. I've had the privilege of flying in and out of this terminal many times. I've been to not just Chicago, obviously, but Mexico and more recently Hong Kong from this terminal. So a lot of great memories. It's just a beautiful facility.
Yes, once again, thank you so much, AS Aviation, for having me on board. I really appreciate it. You've been a huge inspiration to me and what I've been doing, and I just cannot thank you enough. So thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Dallas-Fort Worth Terminal D, it is an absolute facility, man. There is no other way to put it. I mean, it is honestly, in my opinion, one of the best facilities in the United States airport network, and it's really, really cool. I mean, you got so many various assets that just contribute to it. First and foremost, the architecture, in my opinion, is just state-of-the-art. It looks really cool with various designs. Of course, you kind of have that triangle shape, and it's a really cool kind of quadrant rectangle type shape. So I think it's really, really cool in that department. You also have the Grand Hyatt, which is a huge part of it as well, as you can see from taxiing in on the ramp, and they have a really cool pool area where you can do some plane spotting at too. So that's very cool, of course, excuse me. And last but certainly not least, you have the amazing American Airlines flagship lounge. Various opinions about American Airlines, of course, but I think that lounge is really, really good. So ultimately, it's a phenomenal facility. Again, coming up on 17 years old, like AS said, it's a really, really cool airport and does a great job encompassing DFW's international operations with a 32-gate phenomenal facility.
Yeah, so as Red River Aviation and myself just mentioned, this is pretty much the main international facility for DFW Airport. It has the whole customs and immigration arrival hall, all that good stuff. Pretty much all of DFW's international flights arrive and depart from this terminal, aside from flights coming in from Canada, of course, I believe the Bahamas and Ireland. Those are all pre-cleared, so passengers go through immigration in Ireland, Canada, or the Bahamas, or whatever have you. They'll pass through immigration in those respective countries before boarding their flights to the U.S. and of course Dallas. So once they arrive, the flights will actually go into a different terminal. So Air Canada, for example, they park at Terminal E, which is of course a mostly domestic terminal. And then I think American Airlines flights from Ireland, they might park at Concourse A or something like that, and then some flights from the Bahamas, they'll use Concourse B or C, whatever have you. So, and then there's a bunch of flights as well for American to Europe that will also use Concourse A for departures. I know Paris and Milan, for example, they'll probably depart out of Concourse A, stuff like that. But for the most part, a lot of the vast majority of international flights are arriving and departing from this terminal. So here's, as you can see, a brief overview of the diorama I have here. Terminal D has gates D6 through D40. Unfortunately, I didn't have space to encompass the entire terminal. So if you look at this side here, I only got up to gate D12 here. D12 has 3 parking positions, D12A, D12, and D12B. So this right here where the Volaris is parked, this is actually D12B, and then D12, the rest of D12 will be going that way, and then, you know, all the way to D6, which will be, you know, going that way. And moving on to this side, unfortunately we are missing 3 gates, I believe D37 through D40. They would be all going that way. They're all narrow body gates for American, so it's not like we're missing anything major because there's a lot of American already in this diorama, as you can see. For this side though, unfortunately, gates D6 through D12 that we couldn't put in. That is kind of unfortunate because the way Terminal D works is that all of the international airlines that serve DFW, except for Air Canada of course, they get allotted only gates D6 through D16. So literally all of the international airlines that serve DFW, except Air Canada, they only park up on this side. They are not anywhere here because D17 all the way through D40, that's American only. So, I mean, for the diorama's sake, and we're talking about just this diorama, it's kind of unfortunate because I really wanted to include some more of DFW's international airlines, and I'm sure Red River is also going to agree with that because there's a lot of cool stuff that goes into DFW, and I was only able to include 3 international carriers here, but still pretty cool. I mean, we have a lot of American routes to go over as well, and yeah, and we are sticking to some strict realism here. The time frame for this update is between 4 to 6 p.m. So huge international and also a little bit of a domestic rush here. As you can see, plenty of flights to go over. Every single gate, for the most part, is filled up. So that's really a brief overview of the terminal. I'll hand it over to RRA to give us a brief rundown of some expansion plans coming to Terminal D.
Yeah, of course. So first and foremost, like AS said, really good diorama he has. It outdoes my little 6, 7, 8 gates. I don't even know how many it has by a lot. So this is really, really good. But yeah, it's a phenomenal facility as a whole, as you can see with his diorama. You have both the sides, which I think have about 3, 4 gates each, and then you have the straightaway, which is like 10 or so. So definitely got a really good visualization about what's going on there. And of course, we'll get a lot of variety in this update, and we got a lot going on. So that's very exciting. In terms of the expansion plan, last year during the summer, DFW added a little 4-gate extension on the south side of the Terminal D area. It's right next to the International Parkway toll road, which is really nice. So you're going to find that right there. It's kind of construction on Google Satellite, but you'll see it on the actual airport. And it's really nice. It's kind of interesting. It's like a catty corner type setup, which is really cool. So you'll find just mainline aircraft. It's just more expansion for Americans' mainline operations, as unfortunately they need gates at DFW to keep expanding. They plan to build Terminal F, of course, but that's a whole different conversation. But Terminal D expansion is a really cool little 4-gate facility. Nice to see some additional gates. It's unfortunate it wasn't able to make it into this replica, but still very cool to have it. It's really, really nice.
And yeah, like Red River Aviation mentioned earlier in the video, the DFW Terminal D is also home to the Grand Hyatt. The Hyatt Regency is a different hotel that's on the other side of the airport, around about where Terminal C and Terminal A are. But the Grand Hyatt, that's the bigger hotel of the two on site at DFW, and that would be somewhere here. I mean, I tried my best to replicate it with this little block here, but that's not the best. And there's actually a lot more to the building itself than this, you know, really basic replica. There's a lot more like triangles here, like Red River Aviation mentioned earlier here, and then there's like a lot, like this whole thing is filled up with just, you know, stuff. It's not empty like it is in my version, but you know, I didn't have the materials to do all that. So that's why it's really empty.
Not to mention a huge parking garage facility too. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, that's like, yeah, exactly, like right over here. So yeah, unfortunately I didn't have enough materials to include all that, but just wanted to make that clear in case anybody starts yelling at me in the comments. But that's basically it. That's all we wanted to mention regarding Terminal D and what we have going here. So without further ado, let's jump right into the aircraft in this update. So the first aircraft of the update here at D12B is this Volaris Airbus A320neo. This aircraft came into DFW at 4:35 p.m. from Guadalajara, Mexico as Flight 892, and is going to be on the ground for another 2.5 or so hours before departing back to Guadalajara as Flight 893 at 7 p.m. Next door at gate D15 we have the British Airways Boeing 777-300ER. Landed in from London Heathrow at around 5:10 p.m. as flight 193. As you can see, it's just getting some catering and cargo luggage offloaded, and it'll be departing back to London Heathrow as flight 192 around 7:15 p.m.
Yes, just like AS was saying, that we got the BA333 with service out to London Heathrow. As you guys may or may not know, British Airways' long-haul fleet is definitely a little inconsistent, kind of like United's mainline, but you're going to find that British Airways over the years has used various aircraft, such as now the retired Boeing 747-400, unfortunately, also the Boeing 787-8, 9, and 10. You're also going to find that they've used the Boeing 777-200ER and just most recently the Boeing 777-300ER as well. And upcoming, which is really exciting, they're also planning to use the Airbus A380 valid June 1st, 2022. I'm sorry, July 1st. I'm so sorry about that. Very excited for the A380. It's going to be awesome. Finally getting double deckers back at DFW. It's been something that me and AS have talked about a lot. We're missing our double deckers from Emirates and Qantas. So really excited to see that. That's going to be really, really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's actually exactly a month after Chicago gets the British Airways 380 back. So we get our 380 back from BA on June 1st. I'm not sure when this video is going to come out, but June 1st is the British Airways 380 return to Chicago. And then, like Red River just said, Dallas gets the 380 on July 1st. So really exciting stuff. BA has always been a heavy player in the U.S., and I'm excited. I'm really happy to see that they're coming back very strong. And the 380, of course, is coming back, and that's absolutely incredible.
Alrighty, next in line right here, we have the Qatar Airways Airbus A350-1000 normal livery right here. This guy's currently making a flight in from Doha, arriving in his Qatar flight 729, arriving at 4:15 p.m. And he's going to be making the turnaround back in about 2 hours and 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours, I'm sorry, as Qatar flight 730 with service back out to Doha. This has been a really cool flight here at DFW. Of course, it's had some variation between the Boeing 777s and more recently the Airbus A350s. It's been a really fun flight to follow. They've been doing some crazy frequencies on this, including some double daily stuff and even maybe more to come in this upcoming season. So really exciting to see that. And AS, any thoughts on the Qatar A350?
Yeah, fantastic. Initially, when Qatar started at DFW, they were operating 777-200LRs back when they initially started, and then eventually this became the 777-300ER a few times, and then more recently, and of course currently, they're operating the 350-1000 on the QR729-730. That's the normal flight. More recently, they added a second daily service to DFW, which is, I think it's, I can't remember the flight number, but it's a 777-200LR. Initially, it was, I think, 3 times a week. They did the same thing with Chicago, but recently they've bumped it up to a daily service. So technically, Qatar Airways is serving Dallas twice a day now. Same case with Chicago and a few other cities. So that 777-200LR flight comes in, I think, 8:45 in the morning, and then it stays in DFW the entire day. It gets towed to a remote stand, and then it departs back out to Doha at like 10:45 p.m. that night. And the 350 comes in, like we just mentioned, comes in around 4:15 p.m. and has a very quick turnaround, gets out of here at around 6:45, 7 p.m. So it's really awesome. Qatar Airways has been going full steam ahead during the pandemic, and even as we get out of the pandemic, they're still showing no signs of lagging behind, even with all the 350 paint issues, fuselage issues, especially with the World Cup coming up this year in Qatar later in the year, November, December. They're going full steam ahead, and it's brilliant to see. And next up over here at gate D17, we have the American Airlines Boeing 737-800 in the One World livery. Just came in from Mexico City as flight 394 around 5 p.m. and we'll be departing in about an hour and a half out to Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina as flight 1609.
Next in line right here, you're going to find the American Airlines Boeing 777-200ER in the One World colors. This guy's currently arriving in from Frankfurt. His flight, American Airlines Flight 71. I'm sorry, he's arriving in, my bad. I'm so sorry, guys. He's going to be departing out to Miami as flight, American Airlines Flight 1536 at 6:30 p.m. It's been really cool to see the variety and another asset of Dallas-Fort Worth's Terminal D's. You're going to find a lot of heavy domestic operations for American Airlines, services like Miami, previously Chicago O'Hare, Los Angeles, Phoenix, all kinds of routes. It's a little bit more convenient for American to utilize their heavy gates here so they can park more narrow bodies at terminals A and C. So it's really cool to see that, and it's a great route there for American.
And just next door over here, we have the American 737-800 in the Astrojet Retro livery. This aircraft just came in from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico at 5 p.m. as flight 1215, and we'll be departing in about an hour and a half out to Mexico again, but this time Mexico City at 6:45 p.m. as flight 2417. And next to that, we have the newest aircraft on the diorama today. It's the American Airlines Boeing 737-800 with the New livery winglets, kind of controversial the way American went about, adding these logo winglets. They could have done so much better, according to a lot of people. But, me personally, it's kind of grown on me. I don't really hate it that much, or I don't have any opinions on it, to be honest. But this 737 just came in from Cozumel, Mexico, as flight 1256 at 5 p.m. A flight that I actually took back in 2012, if I'm not wrong. I think it was the same flight number, but Cozumel DFW, I flew that back in 2012 when the good old days of American chrome liveries everywhere. Those were the times that we'll never get back. But anyways, this aircraft is going to continue another flight at 7 p.m. off to Toronto, Canada as flight 2804.
Alrighty, next in line, we're going to have double American Airlines Boeing 777-300ERs. We're going to begin with the first one right here, flying AA Flight 50 with service out to London Heathrow. This flight was supposed to depart at 3 p.m., but unfortunately got delayed, which is not anything unrealistic here. You're going to find delays every now and then, and this is a flight that's included in that. And then following that, we're going to have the next American Airlines Boeing 777-300ER. This is going to be departing as AA Flight 20 with service out to London Heathrow. This flight's going to be taking it out at 4:25 p.m., and it arrived in from London Heathrow at 1 p.m. as AA Flight 21. It's been a really cool service for Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, of course, complementing the British Airways service. Both one world partners, but they're both getting their fair share, of course. And American's been great operating the 777-300 there since that's became their flagship aircraft throughout the American Airlines-US Airways merger over the last decade. So very cool route right here. It always performs really well. I think it's one of the busiest international routes for Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. So very cool. It pulls in a lot of passengers. So usually somewhere in the ballpark around 750,000. So very cool route right there for American.
Yeah, fantastic. And as he just mentioned, London is a really busy route from DFW, especially now with American losing, well, I shouldn't say losing, but their Hong Kong flight being suspended because Hong Kong's quarantine laws have been really strict lately. Same case with China. Americans already lost like 3 routes there, Hong Kong, Beijing, and Shanghai. The 777-300ER was mainly used on Hong Kong, and I think for actually a long time, they would fly it to Buenos Aires and Sao Paulo, but those have now shifted to 787-9. So they have a lot of 777-300ERs left, and so they've added a couple frequencies out to Heathrow. So on any given day, I believe you'll see probably like 3 or 4 777-300ERs operating solely between DFW and Heathrow. I think you'll see probably 3 from American, and then these days you have 1 from British Airways as well. So it's really, really cool to see that, and it's not uncommon to see 2 777-300ERs side by side. I've actually seen, pre-pandemic, I'd seen like 3 side by side at Terminal D, which is so amazing. And I don't have 3, but I have 2, so I thought it'd be cool to replicate that here. And next up here at Gate D27, we have the American Airlines Boeing 787-9. Arrived earlier from Tokyo Narita as flight 66 at 4 p.m. And in about an hour and a half, or 2 hours, will be departing off to Sao Paulo, Brazil as flight 963. So he's just getting a good amount of service here, cargo, and some cleaning going on for the long haul down to Brazil. Next door at Gate D29, we have the American Airlines A321, which came in at 5 p.m. from Montego Bay, Jamaica as flight 508, and we're departing out at 6:40 p.m. as flight 2709 to Palm Springs, California.
Next in line, we have this American Airlines Boeing 787-8. This guy's currently arriving in as AA Flight 37 from Madrid, Spain at 4:08 p.m. And he's going to be departing out to Amsterdam with an unknown flight number later, unfortunately. Sorry about that, guys. These have both been really cool routes as American Airlines has flown various aircraft on both of them to Europe. You're going to be finding Boeing 787-8s, -9s, Boeing 777-200s as well. So it's been really cool to get all the variety in on our Europe flights. So it's been really nice to see that on American.
All right, next to the American 787 here, we have the Airbus A319 in the Allegheny VistaJet Retro livery. Just arrived from Querétaro, Mexico as flight 2221 at 5 p.m. And at 7:10 p.m. it'll make another flight out to Mexico, flight 1103 to Chihuahua. Americans they've been doing a lot of Airbus A319 routes, especially the new ones that they recently, well, not new ones, but pre-owned 319s that they recently inherited from Frontier. Those are everywhere at DFW, along with a bunch of other planes like the Neos and whatnot. But a bunch of these regular fence-tip A319s all over the place doing short-haul flights in short-haul international flights down to the Caribbean, and especially Mexican cities, especially the smaller cities like we just mentioned here, Querétaro, Chihuahua, and as we'll see later on, I believe we have PSA, which is going to Durango, so you'll see that in a few moments here. But RA, do you have anything to add about the 319s? Because I'm sure that you know they're everywhere at DFW.
Yes, I do. So there's been a lot going on with the American Airlines mainline network as of late. So American Airlines, kind of coming out of the pandemic, has established some really cool new frequencies along with capacity options. So a lot of these cities were previously served with Emerald 145s and 75s and even some 737s in there. So the really good thing for American over the last 10 years is since they've been able to integrate the smaller 130-seater aircraft, they've been able to have a lot of variety when it comes to their frequencies and also their capacities. So for instance, you don't have to fly a 737 out to Durango if you don't want to. You can fly an Airbus A319 that has 30 less seats and maybe even get an extra frequency in there. So American Airlines is really capitalizing on that variety, and I'm really love to see that from their network planning. So it's been really cool to see. You also fly A319s doing random stuff like Eugene, Oregon, and Syracuse, New York, for instance. So you're going to find random stuff, but then you'll find some more streamlined stuff, for instance, like Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Tulsa, Oklahoma, for instance, and even flights to like Chicago too. So the A319 is a versatile asset for American. It's been really cool to see how they've been utilized in that, especially coming out of the pandemic here. It's been really cool. Next up, we have this American Airlines Boeing 777-200ER right here. This guy's currently arriving in from Los Angeles at 1 p.m. on American Airlines Flight 459. He's going to depart out as American Airlines Flight 70 with service out to Frankfurt, Germany right here at 3:55 p.m. This is another common thing American Airlines will do. They'll bring a domestic heavy flight into Terminal D and then just have it depart as a international flight. They'll also do likewise with some of the cities like AS mentioned previously with Madrid and Paris at Terminal A2. But again, it's more common to see it at the international terminal, more heavy gates, thus more operations for the heavies. So, but again, it's always great to see the various 777s and 787s, and I kind of wish American would have did some Airbus stuff. I think 350s would have been really cool, but they're keeping the fleet modularity and everything, so can't complain too much. It's always cool to see a heavy. Next in line right here, we have this American Airlines Airbus A319, the PSA livery. This guy is currently arriving in as AA Flight 1477 in from Durango, Mexico at 4:15 p.m. And in a couple minutes here at 4:55 p.m., he's going to be quickly departing out to Lubbock, Texas as American Airlines Flight 2139. This is a prime example of what we just mentioned with the Airbus A319 being so versatile. You're bringing the A319 in from Durango, Mexico, which is already a pretty high demand route as it is. Then you're going to send it on to Lubbock, Texas for the evening flight, which is also another city that's not quite as high demand, but has enough demand for 130 seats at that time of the day on the Airbus A319. American, you don't do everything perfect, especially as you guys have been able to see in AS's trip report, but that is pretty good right there, so I'll give you credit. That's pretty good.
And then last but not least, we have the American Airlines Boeing 787-9, which arrived from Seoul, Incheon, South Korea as Flight 280 at 4:05 p.m. And at 9 p.m., it'll be departing on another international sector, AA48, off to Paris Charles de Gaulle. All right, and with that, we've reached the end of this epic airport update. It was a lot of fun to do. I hope you all liked this sort of basic diorama of Terminal D, but I did my best with the limited resources that I had, and also considering that this is more or less a temporary setup unless you all want to see more of Terminal D updates in the future. I did my best to incorporate some personal things into this diorama as well, like for example this 777 at D23. This exact 777 here is November 735 Alpha Tango at D23. I put it here is because I flew this exact same plane out of this exact same gate in 2019 to Hong Kong, so I put that there just cause why not. And then over here, I think this is D31 7878. That's where I flew the 788 to Chicago from in 2019, coming back from Malaysia. I flew it from this gate, so that's why I put that there. And then just random other stuff that I've seen in real life, Qatar Airways at D15 or D12 or whatever it is, and then of course all the American heavies lined up. It's just really something else to see all these heavies lined up at Terminal D. It's a beautiful facility, like we've gone over earlier in the update. I really hope you enjoyed it. Red River Aviation, if you have anything else to say, feel free. And yeah.
Absolutely. First and foremost, thank you so much for having me once again. This was an absolute blast, and very fortunate to be able to join you for this. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. As you guys both know, me and AS are super passionate for DFW's Terminal D. It is such a cool terminal in the U.S. sector, and it's really cool. This terminal serves some prime routes out of the out for America, or for various airlines, excuse me, to Cancun, London, Mexico City. I'm so sorry. Tokyo, San Jose del Cabo, Toronto, Frankfurt, Seoul. The list goes on, and it does a great job. It's a really cool terminal, and if you have ever been inside, you know how cool it is with all the cool architecture, so many really nice windows, getting plenty of light beaming in, and then there's so many various things in there. There's a lot of really cool like international shops and different things. I think there's like all kinds of different things in there. So if you're looking for something particular, that's a really cool terminal, and they definitely got you hooked up. So it's really, really cool. And again, it's just AS has so many great memories flying in there. Unfortunately, I've only flown one domestic flight to Nashville at that terminal. Hopefully that change, but it's a very, very cool terminal, and it's really, really good to get to analyze it here in its full context. So again, thank you so much, AS Aviation. I really appreciate you bringing me on for this, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. And as always, if you haven't already, go check out Red River Aviation's channel. Link is in the description below, or of course the card in the top right corner. Stay tuned for the Chicago Air Terminal 3 update that he'll be doing on his channel soon. I'm very excited for that one as well. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. This summer, if I'm not too busy with my summer classes that'll begin in about 10 days, I'm planning to do one new model airport a week. Some that I have planned are Houston Terminal D, Chicago O'Hare Terminal 5, Terminal 1 Concourse C, Rockford, Doha, Islamabad, maybe Charleston. Those are some that I have planned. Maybe even DCA if I'm up for it. But those are some things that I'm trying to do this summer, just some cool random model airports that maybe might become regulars on the channel, but just let me know. If you enjoyed this DFW update, let me know in the comments as well if you want to see more Terminal D updates. I sure would be really happy to do more, especially considering there's a lot of cool other international carriers, of course Qantas, Lufthansa, Air France, Turkish, the list goes on, that we haven't included in this video that I would love to include in future updates. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much Red River Aviation for joining me today. And that's it. Thanks again, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.